Hey, I'm Singh, and today I'm going to introduce you all to my brand new 2020 motorcycle. This bike needs no introduction, plus you guys have already seen it in the thumbnail and the title. So without further ado, here it is, the 2020 Yamaha WR250R. Like I said, it needs no introduction. Let's hop on it, take it for a ride, and talk about why I got this bike, what I've done to it, and what my plans are. Alright, let's hop on this thing. Alright, I'm going to take you guys down to Station Square today. It's just on the west side of the river in Pittsburgh. I like that spot because, one, it's just about 15 minutes away from here, so it'll give us ample time to talk about why I got this bike. And two, it's got a great view, so who doesn't like a great view? So let's head down there and talk about some of the things I've put on the bike and my plans and all that once we get there. But for now, let's talk about why I got this bike. WR250R, this one is actually my second WR250R. I bought one back in 2017 and I did not have a chance to own that bike or even enjoy that bike for any reasonable amount of time, because when I bought that bike in 2017, I had to move back home to Pittsburgh, back home to New York City, and I bought the bike in, I think, October of 2017, and I moved back to New York City in December 2017. And then in February, I had to go on a work trip, and when I got back, it was a couple of days trip. When I got back, the bike was stolen. So I did not have that bike for a long period of time, and it was the only times I've had it through was winter. And I think I must have put like 100 miles on it or something. Like it was ridiculous. And you know, if you guys know anything about New York, the space in New York is hard to get. I had moved there. I was trying to find a place where I can store my bike, and before I could figure that out, it was gone. This light is never going to go green. You engineers need to figure this out, man. This is terrible. You always got to be breaking the law, or I'll sit there the entire night. But yeah, so you know, we moved in December. 2 months later, the bike was gone, so I didn't have any time to enjoy that bike. And now 2020, and I've gone ahead and bought it again. Why? You know, why did I buy it again? There's so many other bikes that you can own for the similar price range. I mean, this bike MSRP is almost $7,000, right? So that's a ton of money, man. You can get, you know, an FZ09. You can get a used FZ09 for much less than that. You can get almost a brand new FZ07, SB650. I mean, the list goes on. I mean, there's so many bikes you can get for the price of this brand new 2020 WR250R. Well, short answer, this bike is great fun. Nothing can compare to the genre of this bike. And by genre, I mean dual sport and supermoto. To me, the bikes that I enjoy the most are supermotos, hands down. I've owned 2 DRZs before this bike, and the most fun I've ever had have been on the DRZ 400 supermoto. There are some things about DRZ I'm not a huge fan of. I think I'll make a separate video comparing the WR to the DRZ since I've owned both of them. But I want to put some miles on this thing before I do a comparison of that sort. But I do want to make a separate video on that topic. But anyway, so I've owned 2 DRZs already, and I love supermotos. Bottom line, like that's my favorite types of motorcycles. And this one in particular, it's a dual sport, so like it came with dirt wheels. I'm gonna get supermoto wheels, and you know, it gives me opportunity to take it off on trails, and Pittsburgh's got plenty of them as well, so it gives me that opportunity. But in its class, there are a couple of other bikes that I considered. There's the Honda CRF250L, there's the Kawasaki KLX250, I think it's called. But if you want to get a supermoto, you can also go to Husqvarna, KTM, You know, those kind of servers. You can even go 650 like DR650 or XR650, or even Husqvarna 701, KTM 690. There's a lot of options out there if you want a supermoto. You can also just convert a dirt bike into a supermoto. So why the WR? Right? I mean, the options are limitless. So the biggest reason I love the WR is because of its reliability. I'm a mathematician, and KTMs just don't get along with me, right? It's all about the numbers for me when it comes down to reliability. I've joined a couple of groups for the 701s, 690. I mean, I love those bikes, and either you've never had any problem with it and you got 50,000 miles on it, or you've got a problem with it right when you rode off the lot. And to me, that doesn't make sense. That's just poor quality control. And 50% chance of having a problem or not, I don't want to live with that. I'd rather live with the bike that I know I'm 90% sure that I'm going to be comfortable, and not comfortable. I'd rather have a bike that I'm 90% sure, 90+% sure that this bike is not going to let me down someday in the middle of nowhere where I have no phone service and nobody's coming by to help me, etc. So I'd rather not be in that situation. So that was one of the biggest reasons why I bought this bike. So no Husqvarna or KTMs for me, at least for now. And then comes the other Japanese bikes, right? So there's the CRF and there's the KLX. So those two bikes, I didn't consider the Kawasaki, and I was just considering the CRF or the WR. And I'm a huge Honda fan. I love Honda. Car, motorcycle, whatever, right? Race. I love Honda. But the problem I had when I was comparing the numbers and the features and all of that between the CRF and the WR outright just beats that bike. I mean, in every single way. You can talk about price, but when I say price, you gotta consider all the upgrades you'll potentially have to make to get that bike to where this WR is, and particularly the suspension. And I'll get to that here in just a minute, but when you consider the price and when you consider the features that are coming on that CRF, it just doesn't work for me. The numbers just don't add up to me. The WR is a better buy right out of the box. It's got more motor, much more, not much, but it's got more power than the CRF. It is a 250 at the end of the day. Better suspension. So let's talk about the suspension. And when we talk about suspension, it's not that this WR out of the box is perfect for my weight, or it's just like it cannot get any better. Yeah, this suspension isn't great. It's good. It's not great for my weight. The front springs and the rear springs are not good for my weight. They're about for people that are between 150 to 180 with gear. I'm way above that. The rebound in the rear, it's terrible, so I need to get that fixed. So what I'm saying is I still need to work on the suspension on this bike. So then you might ask, well, if you need to do that, why don't you just get the CRF? It's a cheaper bike. You can get the suspension work done and you'll still be around the same price as this bike. Well, hear me out. The reason why I didn't want to do that was because I like adjustability off the suspension. Like I said, I want to be able to do a supermoto build and still be able to hit the trails. And what that means is the suspension settings on this bike are going to be widely different for the two riding styles, right? So if the CRF has no adjustabilities, I can do whatever I want with the internals, you know, rebound it or revalve it, put any springs on, whatever. I either have to revalve it for off-road or I have to revalve it for supermoto. It's not, you can't, you know, it just doesn't work to have revalved one or the other and do both. So I'd like to have the adjustability so then I can dial up the compression, dial up the rebound, and not have to worry about it, right? So the adjustability in the suspension itself, the components, it's very important, especially for heavier guys like myself. I'm 194, so it's important, right? With gear, I'm probably, I don't know, 210, 215, something like that. So I wanted to have that adjustability so I can go back and forth and adjust my suspension how I like it for off-road or supermoto. So that's why CRF was just kind of out of the picture after that. And the motor, I'm not I don't really care about horsepower. That's not what it's all about for me. And you know, as you can see, I want a 250. If I cared about motor, I would have a liter bike, and I've had those before, but you know, that's not the point for me. So it's not about the motor at the end of the day. And what I've seen from dynos, the CRF actually makes more power below. CRF makes more power sooner than WR does. WR is all the way up top, right? But CRF, right off the bottom line, it's got more torque and more power than the WR. So that's more fun to me. But yeah, WR has more motor at the top end, more horsepower at the end of the day, and that was okay for me. I went with that. Let's go that way. So that's kind of why I chose this. Like I said, Husqvarna and KTM, I'm not considering those bikes at all. And 250 motor, this is what I found to be the best. So why don't we talk about what my plans are, what I've already put on the bike, and what I've ordered already, and what I yet have to order. So let's pull over here and talk about that. And before we do that, let's before we do that, why don't we enjoy the view a little bit? I'll show you guys around. So hopefully you guys can see, I'm trying out this new camera set up on my chest and mic in my helmet, but there's a Steeler Stadium, bright yellow. Pirate Stadium is back there behind that yellow bridge. There's downtown, and that's what we call the Point Park. That's where all three of the rivers meet. They usually have a huge fountain going, but they haven't been encouraging people to come out, so they've turned that off for now. Hopefully that comes back on soon. But here's downtown. I really enjoy this spot. It's a good spot. Great view. All right, so let's talk about what I've already put on the bike. Let's switch the camera to my phone here, and let's talk about what I've already put on the bike. I ended up getting a couple of used parts from another owner who was selling his WR. I got the TRX axle sliders in the front as well as in the back. They're a bit worn in, but guess what? That's the point. If I get brand new ones, that's exactly what's going to happen to them as well. And I also got the skid plate from him as well. That's the plastic one, Moose Racing. I didn't want to get the aluminum one because it just rattles too much. Plastic is just fine for me. And he also threw in a black front fender, the Churby's one. I think that's how you pronounce their company's name. So he threw that in, and let me tell you, all three things included were cheaper than if I had to buy TRX alone and the Moose Racing alone, brand new. It just didn't make sense to me, so I went with the used ones, and that's perfectly fine with me. The other thing I put on are these bleeders from Motion Pro. Let me try to get a better view with that. Can't get that one. Let's see. Maybe I can get this one. Yeah, there you go. So if you want a WR, this is a must for me. Like, it's just so easy to bleed the forks in the front. And that's all I've done to it so far. I have ordered supermoto wheels front and back from Warp 9 from Moto X Industries, so that'll be coming in. With that, I got the bigger rotor in the front, but I think it's 320 with the adapter for the brake. I kept the sprocket the same as the stock, which is 43. And the reason why I've done that is because, again, I'm hoping to swap back and forth really quickly between the two tires, supermoto and off-road. So it makes it easier to keep the same chain and the sprocket, so that way I don't have to adjust it every time I change the tires between the two. So I've kept a stock one for now. Once the chain wears out, I might, think about upgrading, but for now I think it's okay. What else I've ordered? I'll be ordering some lights, including the taillight, turn signals, etc. from TST Industries. That'll be coming in. I'm actually in the process of partnering up with TST Industries for this bike, and I'll have a coupon for you guys to get some money off your orders in the future, so stay tuned for that. And in terms of performance mods, I am not going to be making any performance mods on this bike, at least this year. None of them at all. I'm keeping this bike stock. It's plenty of power for me for now. I would like to keep it stock for now for at least a year, get a feel for it. If I think I need more power, or if I need the noise, I'll upgrade, but no plans at the moment. The other thing I want to do is I want to get rid of these plastics. Blue is really not my color, and it sucks that this bike only comes in blue, but I'll be changing the plastics. I want to go black plastics and some custom yellow graphics kit, and I'm not going black and yellow for Pittsburgh. Black and yellow just happen to be two of my favorite colors, so I'll be going black plastics and yellow graphics kit. Hopefully I'll be getting that pretty soon as well. But those are all my plans for now. If you guys have any recommendations or a must-do mods on these bikes, let me know in the comment section below. I've only had this bike for I think 2 weeks now, and well, how many miles we've got? We've got 315 miles. I've already done the first oil change. I'll do the first service at 600 miles at the dealership just to make sure everything is right where it should be, and then I'll do everything on my own after that. But let's hop back on the bike and I'll share my closing thoughts with you guys. Alright, so let's hop on and take it for a spin, and we can finish up our thoughts. Here we go. So like I said, this bike has been awesome so far. I've only put 330 or whatever miles plus 100 miles on the other one. So not a lot of miles under my belt, but I'm loving it so far. Everything has checked, all the boxes have been checked for me on this bike. But you know, I'll keep you guys updated as always on this bike, see how it's been going, the mods, etc. I hope you guys welcome this bike onto the channel. I know a lot of you subscribe to my channel because of the FZ07. I actually had to sell that back in 2017 when I bought this bike back in 17. But you know, I hope you guys enjoy this bike. This bike is here to stay on this channel. You'll see a lot more moto vlogs coming your way on this bike, other mods, installations, etc. So hope you guys enjoy. Hope you guys stay subscribed, and if you haven't subscribed already, do consider subscribing to the channel. I do a ton of motorcycle reviews and other motorcycle content like motor vlogging. So hope you guys stay tuned and love this bike as much as I do. Ride safe, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.